Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second debate or second candidate forum for the Illinois 8th. There are 8 candidates in the race. 7 have agreed to join us. We at NWSOFA-Indivisible are hosting this event along with several co-hosts, including Indivisible Illinois, Indivisible Hike, GPAD, Elk Grove Dems. GPAD is Greater Palatine Area Democrats, Elk Grove Democrats, Elgin Democrats, Dundee Democrats. So it's a combination of indivisible groups as well as democratic organizations in the area. So we're all very excited to welcome you. And as I told you, there are 8 candidates in the race. 7 are joining, and the candidates have got big shoes to fill. It's the seat being vacated by Raja Krishnamurthy, who's going to run for the Senate. And stay tuned for information about the Senate debate, which will be on December 17th at 7 p.m., Wednesday, December 17th at 7 p.m. So that's my initial preamble. Again, welcome to the candidates and welcome to the audience. Now I'm going to turn it over to Bill for a description of NWSOFA's program.
Sid, can you see the slide on the screen?
Yes, I can.
Great. Well, welcome everybody to the candidate forum for the Illinois 8. We're excited. This is the second one we've done. Last month we did one also, and then we did an Illinois 9th, and this is the second one here. So we're getting it down pretty good. The thing to remember is this is the Illinois 8th, and it's a very long and large grouping here. It starts really at the top of Chicago, or in the very top of Chicago, spreads out through Arlington Heights, through Rolling Meadows, through Carroll Stream, Hoffman Estates, and out to Elgin. It comprises a huge number of folks out there. It is Raja Krishnamurthy's House seat. So as Sid was just saying, we have 8 and a nice group working with us as co-hosts. We have NWOFA-Indivisible, Indivisible Illinois, Dundee Township Democrats, the Elk Grove Township Democrats, the Indivisible Elk Grove Township. We have the Greater Palatine Area Democrats, and we have the Kane County Dems, and we have an Indivisible Des Plaines. And helping out tonight is Lonnie from Indivisible Skokie. So thank you all very much for being here. We are one chapter of 2,700 chapters across the U.S. Each one of those little dark spots indicates a indivisible chapter. We exist with 30 leads and 19 different issue groups. This is one issue team. And our goal is, each one of them is to help people understand the facts, to understand their arguments when they're talking to people, how they explain things, and how they communicate to their audiences. If we can get that done, that is great. So today, your chat has been disabled. So where you normally would chat back and forth with people, that's disabled. It is only there for you to ask questions today. So when you go to the chat, it'll say you can't chat. Go up to the top of your chat and click on new chat, and you'll see the hosts all pop up, and you'll see one in particular that says questions for the candidates. Click on that, and then you're allowed to ask your question on chat. So this way, just questions funnel right in to Debbie, who is monitoring the chats here. And at the very end of the program tonight, after all the questions have been asked by Sid, we're going to be taking questions and combining the questions that you've all asked and giving them to Sid to ask to the candidates. So with that, thank you all for attending. And Sid, it is your show here.
Okay, so we have 7 candidates at the forum tonight. The first one is Junaid Ahmed. The second one is Yasmin Bankole. Third is Sanjot Dunong. Fourth is Neil Coate. Fifth is Kevin Morrison. Sixth is Dan Tully. And seventh, batting cleanup is Ryan Wedike. So one candidate had a conflict and could not make the forum. So I'd like to thank all the attendees, the audience, for taking time out of their busy schedules to attend this, and the 7 candidates for making themselves available today. As you all know, this country that we love dearly is at a crossroads and under daily assault by a renegade leader and regime that is engaged in lawless acts and taking away the rights enshrined in our Constitution, which is a 249-year-old experiment. As Franklin said, you have a republic if you can keep it. And we all need all of you, the candidates, the voters, the citizens, and others to safeguard the republic by being actively engaged in voting. As Barack Obama always says, don't boo, vote. And also be engaged in peaceful protest against the regime, attending forums like this, going to No Kings rallies. We expect you to be engaged, and it'll take us all of our collective efforts to change the course of what is happening in Washington. Okay, without further ado, let me go over the rules of this forum. There'll be 7 rounds in this forum, with each candidate having 1 minute to answer each question. The candidates can see a digital clock, which will be a 60-second clock, and they'll have the opportunity at the end of the 60 seconds to finish their thought or their sentence. The first round of questioning will be a common question asked by me. The second and third rounds will be different questions to each of the different candidates. The fourth round will be what is called a rebuttal round, where candidate can choose to either rebut something that was said in a previous round by one of the other candidates, or they can take a question that was not addressed to them and answer that question. The fifth and sixth rounds will be drawn from audience questions. Again, you want to send those questions to in the chat to questions for candidates, and Debbie Rudy is going to collect all those questions and send them to me by email, and I will try and recognize the person who's asking the question and then the question, and ask a different question for each candidate. Hopefully you will be supplying enough questions to Debbie so that there'll be enough for at least 14 questions. Finally, each candidate will have a 1-minute closing statement where they can ask for your vote and state why they're the best candidate to fill the shoes of Raja Krishnamurthy. Our goal is to finish the forum in 90 minutes, hopefully give or take a few. A couple of housekeeping issues. Candidates have each submitted bios of themselves and a little bit about their platform. And this will be posted as a PDF a few times in the chat. The other important housekeeping rule is the code of behavior. There is a 0 tolerance for bad behavior, any bad language or anything like that. And if such thing occurs, you will be immediately kicked out of exited from the Zoom. Sorry for this wrong preamble, but let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the first question. And this first question.
Excuse me, Sid.
Yeah.
I've been getting some requests for making a video, and people have been asking for access to meeting questions. We're denying all of that. because we are doing a live video. It is on the NWSOFA.org website. It's about a 35 to 45 minute delay, but it is running right now, and you can go up at any time after this call, and you can download or you can use that entire video as you see fit. So I just wanted to let people know that. Back to you, Sid.
Perfect. Okay, so the first person up is Junaid Ahmed. Who'll get the first question is going to be a common question for all of the 7 candidates. And can we get Junaid on the screen? Hi, Junaid.
Hi.
Okay, so the question goes like this. My friend, good friend, young friend Ishan said in an Oking speech that young people face a bleak future in terms of affordability of housing, education, groceries, and other costs, with his generation likely to be the first to have a lower standard of living compared to their parents and grandparents. Trump has proposed a 50-year mortgage, which is a strange thing, with lower upfront payments, but you all know what a 50-year mortgage will involve. What do you think of the idea? If you don't like it, what other ideas do you have to address the affordability of housing, groceries, education, and other costs to make life affordable for young people like Ishan?
Thank you, Sid. Thank you for organizing this. Look, I'm living my father's dream. I've spoken at many different forums. I've spoken my background. I won't get into that, but this is the American dream that we're living. Are my kids going to have the same opportunities, the same excitement in life that I had? Unfortunately, this president is pushing us backwards. We need, in terms of housing, in terms of grocery prices, in terms of even healthcare, we are having discussions that we should have taken care of 20 years ago. Unfortunately, this president is trying to be a king and taking us backwards. We need a Congress who is going to push back and who is going to fight and who is going to look at specific programs instead of putting tariffs and trying to come up with negotiation tips here. I would look at opportunities to grow our own economy. Oh, wow, that was quick. Okay, all right.
You'll get better at it, Junaid, as we go along. So you'll get the cadence of the 60-second clock. So the same question goes now to Yasmin Bankole. So in terms of affordability for young people, in terms of housing, grocery, other things, to answer the question that our good friend Ishan described at the Arlington Heights No Kings rally. So do you get the question, Yasmin?
Thank you, Sid. Good evening, everyone. This is Yasmin Bankole, and I'm really, really so excited to kick off this forum tonight, excuse me. So the question was about lowering costs, lowered standard of living, young people wanting what the previous generations had. And I think it's attainable, but I think it takes smart legislation to do it. I think it takes willpower to pass legislation that's already been introduced. So when we think about affordable housing, we can look to the Unlock Act, which would make it easier for municipalities across the country to unlock CDBG dollars through HUD, and it would make it easier for them to put forth affordable housing. When we look at healthcare feels like a luxury right now, and it's just unsustainable. And so, when we think about addressing this issue, we should look towards, oh man, that does really go fast.
Go fast. Okay.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So Sanjot Dunam, you're up next.
I will work hard to get into that 60. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today and for giving me this opportunity and all of us to engage with you. Very quickly, let me answer your question, Sid. Affordability. I had the pleasure of talking to Ishan at length about this. I am not in favor of a 50-year mortgage. All we're simply doing is requiring people to pay more interest. How can we make housing more affordable? I have some ideas to build prefab housing and to make it easier to invest in prefab housing throughout our state. That is one. The second is down payment, subsidized down payment opportunities. We certainly can help people so that they don't incur a higher mortgage charge because of that. And then the third is we know that we can lower interest for first-time buyers. We did it with COVID. We went direct from Treasury. So a lot of what I talk about is new ideas, new ways of doing things, and I look forward to sharing more of those on this session with all of you. And I'm in.
Okay, fantastic. So next up is Neil Coate. So the same question about affordability for housing and grocery and other items that young people face. What's your answer?
Thank you so much, Sid. This is, I was just unmuting. Thank you so much again. I came with just $300 in my pocket and I built multi-generational companies across the globe. But today, I don't see that happening for our youth and the young generation. They have lost hopes in the American dream. They do not believe that American dream is possible. I believe even 2 paychecks for a family doesn't allow them to afford basic amenities, groceries, and access to healthcare. What I would do is to ensure that the term called Trumpflation, which is what he's created with tariffs and adding incentives, has not got us to affordable groceries or healthcare. I would suggest taking a look at student loans, giving them access to education that they can afford and not lose hope in the American dream. And for me, it's personal. My son is growing here, and I want to ensure that for him, the American dream is alive. And we have to fight to ensure interest rates are brought to standards and give access to good education.
Okay, so next up is Kevin Morrison, who is Cook County Commissioner. So you're up with the next 60 seconds.
Thank you, Sid, and thank you for everyone for hosting. I'm Kevin Morrison. I'm running for Congress here in the Illinois 8th. It is clear that we need a new generation of leadership, not a rerun of the failed tactics of the past. We need true fighters who are going to tackle the affordability crisis. I've already delivered results as a county commissioner on this front. I created a nationally recognized one-stop shop that helps aspiring entrepreneurs start businesses here in our county, and I want to bring that national. First and foremost, we need to return the powers to Congress to ensure that we don't have an unhinged administration slapping tariffs on construction goods. That will be a good first step in lowering housing costs. We need federal investment in expanding our housing capabilities nationally so that individuals could afford housing, and no one should have to go into debt to access higher education, and everyone should be able to afford healthcare and mental health resources. We need more federal funding to make this happen.
Fantastic. Okay, so next up is Dan Tully, who was formerly at USAID, correct, Dan?
USAID was one of my funders, but U.S. Department of Commerce was where I was at. But thanks, everybody. A couple different things that we can do to lower the cost of housing. First, we start at the very fundamentals, the supply chain, right? So we think about the steel and aluminum tariffs on supplies coming out of Canada. We need to remove those tariffs, which also lowers the cost of American-based supply chain. We also have to think about conversion of the overflow and excess of corporate and office space and industrial properties that we have to be able to convert those into residential properties. We also need to encourage local governments through different incentives to look at zoning and rethink the possibilities of an American city. And I also want to touch on education. Education, I believe everyone should have access to. We need to increase the applicability of the Pell Grants to not only four-year degrees, but also to union apprenticeship programs. We need to be able to offer state public schools at a free tuition if you're making under $100,000. Also, student loans should be capped at the rate of inflation, no more than that. In addition, community college should be available to everyone who wants it for free as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Dan. So next up is Ryan Bedicat. He worked as a counterterrorism analyst. And so Ryan, you're up for the next 60 seconds on the affordability question.
Awesome. So it's really nice to be here with everyone today. So this question is regards to what Ishan had mentioned about young people and the futures that we have in regards to this country and what we're facing. And I'm 24 years old, so I face this firsthand with a lot of friends graduating college, not getting jobs out of school, and kids I mentor in high school that don't know what the future looks like. And so simply, like, there's a lot of things that we could do in regards to combating the housing crisis, the affordability crisis. One policy that I really support is in regards to, if you use the power of the stock market to for people. So if you give everyone put $1,000 into a bank account for everyone that has a social security number, you let that rise with the stock market, the S&P 500, over the next 25 years, you unlock that for them at the age of 25, that would be roughly $250,000. And so if you just do that for every American, you would be able to give them a really big start to life. And thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. So now we'll go to the second round of questions. And the second round of questions, we're going to start with Yasmin Bankole. Yasmin, this is the question for you. I watched Fareed Zakaria interviewing Bill Maher this last weekend. And his premise is that the Democrats promise a lot and deliver little in blue cities like New York and blue states like California, with budgets almost doubling and a host of other issues that are pinned at Democrats. This, he posits, is causing the voters to go in Trump's direction because the Dems are going too far left. Even if Trump overreaches, they're willing to forgive him for overreaching because the sense is that Dems are moving too far left. How and what do you and the Dems plan to say and do to counter this perception and win those independents and win those people that you need to win back in order to win the House, the Senate, and the presidency? What is the message that you're going to have to bring those people back, including the working middle class and the blue collar workers who are in unions?
Thank you for the question. So I'm going to challenge that statement because I don't think that Democratic voters ever left, the working class ever left. They just have not been prioritized. We keep electing the same type of Democrat that prioritizes corporate interests, special interests, says that they're going to pass certain legislation, attempts to do it, doesn't have the willpower to do it, and over and over and over. And so it really is time for a new generation of leaders that not only works hard to get into office, but keeps the promises that they ran on and delivers for working people. So as a trustee, I've been able to pass certain ordinances that help lower water costs in my community, has instilled public safety initiatives. I've been able to craft legislation as a congressional staffer as well. And so I am running very much on a proven track record of getting things done.
Thanks, Yasmin. So the next question goes to Sanjot Dunam.
Same question, right?
No. So here, this round is everyone getting different questions.
Okay.
So here, Trump believes that he has invented a new word called affordability. But 55% of the cost of tariffs are being passed on to consumers, and likely a higher percentage in the future. Right now, some of the manufacturers and importers are eating some of the cost of the tariffs, but they're going to be passed on to consumers. How can we make Trump and the GOP pay for this failed tariff strategy?
So he didn't invent the concept of affordability, and we know
That was a joke. That was a joke.
Absolutely that tariffs are a tax. The chaos and uncertainty is terrible for our families, for our small businesses. As somebody who sits on the National Small Business Association, representing over 66,000 small businesses, and really working to advocate for sensible, common sense policy, we know what we need to do is provide certainty, reliability, and be able to do it. And by the way, voters have already voted on this referendum. We saw amazing results in New Jersey and Virginia just last week, where both Mikey and Abigail won by over 13, 14 points. So I think that we need to rely on making sure that voters hear our message, which is that Democrats, to answer a little bit of the question before, that we hear them, we see them, but also that we are in the same boat together, and we're focusing on our shared values and the shared opportunities.
Thanks a lot. Perfect timing now. Okay, so the next question goes to Neil Coate. And Neil, this is your question. AI is currently impacting hiring by leading corporations, and new graduates and recently unemployed people are having a really hard time finding jobs. Would you be in favor of a universal basic income to provide funds to the long-term unemployed as a result of AI?
Progress has always been part of America. America is what progress to the world means. Back in the days, we used to have horse buggies. From horse buggies, we came to cars. From cars, we came to planes. From planes, we have come up to rockets, right? So I believe that as transformation continues, I think that AI will be a tool that will work. And when we introduce right courses and retooling and reskilling our current generation and the next generation, we could use AI to better ourselves. In fact, I believe we will export AI to the world and export AI to the world just like we export our current rocket technology, defense technology. AI will better ourselves, and we will be the leading country in the world to tell other countries how AI has to be used. I feel that all of these is going to just help us become a better America. We are never going to, but I still believe that workers and organizations and labor unions should be brought on the table when these decisions are made. So they need to be included when AI is implemented.
Thanks. Okay, so the next question goes to Kevin Morrison. So Kevin, the question to you is, the late Vice President Dick Cheney once said, fiscal budget deficits don't matter. Do you agree or disagree? Why and why not? You can also comment on the massive trade deficits that we are encountering with other countries. Do they matter or not?
You know, it is unique being here in America, especially seeing that we have the Federal Reserve. It is a little bit different. So yeah, our deficit is not the most important issue. It is actually how we are utilizing our federal resources and where we're investing it. We have a current administration who is choosing to give tax breaks to billionaires while our working class families are seeing prices continuously going up, be it on the shelves or in housing. And that is what really needs to be addressed. So I think the biggest issue is not worrying so much about our current deficit. It is about making sure that we're investing in people and allowing them to be able to continue to prosper and do better. And that means paths forward to ensure that everyone could afford healthcare and mental health resources, that we make higher education affordable for all who choose to go that route, that we make trade school options for individuals who want to go into the labor force, but we make sure that we are expanding housing opportunities so that everyone has the ability to afford housing in our nation.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Kevin. The next question goes to Dan Tully. Dan, here's your question. According to reports, the U.S. has the lowest life expectancy among developed nations of the world and the worst health system for the working poor and middle class. How can we pin the failure to pass an alternative to Obamacare health system, as well as the Medicaid cuts that have gone through in the big ugly bill? And how can we use this to leverage this to win elections in 2026 and beyond?
Unfortunately for the American people, Trump has shown that he doesn't care about the healthcare of most Americans. And so I think that we have, unfortunately, people are going to be hurting, but it is an opportunity to say that we can pursue radical policies, not radical in political sense, but radical and transformative. We should be pursuing universal health care for everybody. And, we talk about Medicare for all. I think if we could improve Medicare first by removing the Advantage programs, which I think are predatory for seniors, and have a healthcare system in which the government is the predominant, if not single payer, that lowers the cost of healthcare for everybody because it gives the government leverage in negotiations with pharmaceutical companies, also removes pharmacy benefit managers from the picture. Then people have access to healthcare, not just when they have crisis, but preventative care. That brings down the cost even further. So unfortunately, while this president is going to make more people live without healthcare, we can use this to highlight the need for everyone to have that healthcare.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, Ryan Veticat, you got the next question. It's a kind of a related question. It says, I know some of you support Medicare for all, just like Dan was talking about, but it took a tremendous amount of effort and possibly some lost elections to pass the ACA. Why do you think Medicare for all will pass? Wouldn't it be better to improve the ACA as a more passable option and wait for a time in the future to pass Medicare for all?
Yeah, that's a really complicated and nuanced question. I think the idea around Medicare for all, when people hear it, they sometimes think of it in the wrong way, especially people on the right, independent voters. When they hear that term, they think of just almost people abusing a system to gain healthcare in situations where they don't need it. And so, though, like Medicare, you're suggesting that Medicare is almost being soon passed. That I right now in Congress, that's something that we're working towards and something I support and many of the other candidates support. But it's a difficult thing to pass because I think of this notion. So in regards to improving Obamacare and the ACA, I do think that is a really strong path forward and something we should really pursue. In addition to also trying to make Medicare for all happen or a universal option.
Okay, so now back to Junaid Ahmed. So Junaid, you're also going to get a similar kind of a question on healthcare. Trump and the GOP have had concepts of a healthcare plan, again in quotation marks, for years, and they've not come up with any. Now, Bill Cassidy, on the weekend, he came on one of the Sunday morning shows, a GOP senator, and he's proposed an health savings account, which is an overlay onto Obamacare, or separately, to reduce the profits. He says 20%. But the insurance companies have become very profitable, and if you look over the last 10, 15 years, they've made a lot of money on Medicare. So what he's saying, and on Obamacare. So what he's saying is, create this health savings account, put money in the hands of people so that they can use that to pay their deductible or to pay their premiums or something else, so that the money doesn't go straight to the insurance companies. What do you think of this idea? And do you oppose it, or do you agree with it, and what are your reasons?
I think I think it's all a connected question to me, so I'll take it. I support universal healthcare, and I will support any policy that gets us closer to that goal. But right now, we're going backwards. Like, we know that hundreds of thousands of people from Illinois will lose Medicaid coverage because of this disastrous bill that's happening right now. We first have to reverse those cuts and then expand coverage to all Americans. And in terms of having a specific bill that you're talking about, how close is it going to get us for people to get better coverage? If it's going to take it in circles, which is what this is going to do, really, we need to increase the tent that we have. We need to focus on making sure that affordable healthcare is available to a lot more people. as opposed to coming up with options where some people will still be, still have better access compared to the others. I think everybody having access is where our next step needs to be.
Thank you, Junaid. Okay, so now we're going to the third round of questions. And this round of questions is going to start with Sanjot Dunam. So Sanjot, here is your question. Our Senator Dick Durbin and 7 others joined 52 Republicans in the Senate to pass the CR, the clean CR that they talk about and open up the government. Do you believe the Dems caved in, or did they do the right thing? If you think that they didn't do the right thing by caving in or doing this deal, how long would you have suggested that the Dem senators should have held out to get a better deal? And do you think they'd have got a better deal then? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, a very tough question, right? There's a lot of people with different opinions. I would have done everything very differently had I been in Congress at that time. So a couple of things. I think that the art of negotiation, you never just hang your hat on one thing. There were enough things for us to be asking for. I would have asked for more, the subsidies for sure, but tariff reductions, more protections. The big beautiful or a big bad bill took away a number of 1.2 trillion cuts to SNAP and to Medicare and Medicaid. I would have sought to bring back some of those. So I think that if you're going to go into a negotiation, it's a little like football, right? You go into it, you start the game, and you think your opponent is going to do a certain number of plays. When they don't, at halftime, you have to shift your shots, your strategy. And I think that's what happened with everybody in Congress. Would I have given in 5 days after the great elections that we saw in New Jersey and Virginia? No, I would not have. But I think that we had to weigh in the fact that 43 million Americans were food insecure as of November 1st. And that was a real critical factor as well.
Thanks, Sanjot. Okay, the next question will go to Neil Koh. Neil, 3/4 of the country is in favor of releasing the entire Epstein files. 3/4 of the country. How can you and the Dems use this issue before 2026 and then beyond to win elections as Trump tries to slow walk the release of these files?
I believe that all the files related to Epstein should be released. The reason is not that I want it for my election issue or for election for me to win or others to win. It's more for the families that went through trauma after trauma, young girls being trafficked across nation to the Caribbean islands where all of these leaders congregated. I think for those families and for them to get a peace of mind and justice is what I would fight for. And I think that is the only reason why all these files have to be released. The president should be held accountable for the things that he has done to those minors, and more investigation should be done, not just the release of files. I believe that more investigation has to go in as to what actually happened and held everybody accountable for.
Okay, thank you, Neil. So the next question goes to Kevin Morrison. And so we're going to change a little bit of change of scenery in terms of questions. The oceans are literally boiling. We're having 100-year storms every 2 years. On the other hand, USA for the first time chose not to attend the COP conference in Brazil, which is just a week or so ago. China, in contrast, is leading the attack or leading the charge on decarbonization. What legislation would you propose to reverse the impact of climate change? And would you advocate payments of rich countries like the US that are generating this carbon to poor countries like Jamaica? Jamaica just had a storm go across it and destroyed it. And places like Bangladesh that are facing the economic costs of climate change that has been created by rich nations such as the US.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for this question. I love it. I actually got my beginning as an environmental activist in college. That's what led me to get more politically active. Climate change is, of course, real. Just in the last decade, we have seen Northern Illinois become part of Tornado Alley. That's why we are experiencing so many more tornadoes and flooding events here in the district. I created, as a commissioner, a $100 million disaster relief fund that renews annually to help our communities, especially as we're facing more intense storms. What I would introduce as a congressperson is policies that will speed up our drive as a nation to go fully carbon neutral, because that's what we need to do to deal with climate change. We need to see a return of the rebates that are offered to individuals who seek to have electric vehicles. And then also, our industrialized, wealthy nations need to do more to help get lower income countries to the ability and capabilities to go carbon neutrals themselves.
Thanks, Kevin. So the next question goes to Dan Tully. The question to you is, are you in support of codifying Roe versus Wade and also the Obergefell case in support of marriage equality? Are you in support of that, doing both of those things, and is that doable or not?
Of course, I'm in support of both, and I believe it's doable. I don't think that that women's healthcare decisions or love know partisan bounds. I think that I know firsthand there are Republicans in my own life who would be affected by both issues. So I think rather than propose these things as Democrat or progressive ideas, they should be spoken to the American people in the terms of basic American human rights. Ted Cruz and no other senator and no other member of the House, we shouldn't have the Uncle Sam getting involved in decisions about healthcare or who you love and who you get to marry. That I think that's a pretty straightforward thing that not only all Democrats should get behind, but if we can approach Republicans from the perspective of this is fundamental human liberty that's at stake, not just a left-leaning progressive group. Not that there's anything wrong with left-leaning progressive groups, but if we want to appeal to everybody and wider picture, we can certainly do so.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dan. Next question goes to Ryan Vediket. Ryan, Mamdani, a Bernie-type, very progressive Dem, won in New York City, while Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill won as governors, and they are considered centrist people who are national security backgrounds, very much middle of the road. Whose policies do you align with, and why do you think your choice will be successful to win a general election against the Republicans?
Yeah, I think the beauty of Mamdani's campaign, as well as Mikey's and Abigail's campaigns in Virginia and New Jersey, is that they were hyper local. They focused on their constituencies, and more importantly, who they were and how they connected to those constituencies. And so, I really think that the path forward is not just necessarily take one person and just take that model and spread it across the country. Like, I'm a big fan of Mamdani. I'm also a young brown guy, and so I really like him and the policies that he stands for, at least most of them. And same thing with Abigail and Mikey. But the way I really think that we could win as Democrats is we stay true to who we are and we really resonate with the people and the constituencies that we're trying to represent. I was born and raised in this district. I'm an Illinois fan. Guy through and through. And so I think just connecting with those and being true to who you are and where you come from is the path forward for our party nationwide.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, so the next question goes to Junaid. Pundits believe Democrats lost the 2024 election by focusing on school bathroom issues, book banning, and other social issues, and not on pocketbook issues like affordability of groceries and other things. First, do you agree with that premise? And how would you fashion your future campaign in the general election to win? And which one would you choose and why?
Look, first off, I think it's a very, there are going to be opinions. This is a very simplistic view of one view as to why we lost. I think it goes broader than that. It goes to the notion that we have not focused as much as we should have to be the working people's party. We Democrats have always stood for the working people. Lately, our policies, are we making our policies that are benefiting to the working people? Or are we standing up for corporate PACs or the big donors or the billionaire donors that we say that Donald Trump is beholden to, and everything that he's doing is doing to give wealthy a tax break? Now, us, the Democrats, have to focus on the affordability issue. You started with that question. Our focus needs to be at a point where are people able to make the ends meet? Are we able to get access to healthcare? Are we able to live an affordable life? I think that's what the Democratic Party needs to focus on. Okay,
thanks. So the next question goes to Yasmin Bankole. And the question is, before I ask the question to Yasmin, Debbie, have you been able to get questions from the audience that you're going to send to me?
Yes, I sent you the first batch at 7:45.
Okay. I'll look. I've looked at my email list and it doesn't. I see that, but it may have gone to spam for all.
Oh, that's check possible. That. Yeah. AOL.
Okay. So the next person is Yasmin Bankole, and you're going to get a different question, which may be an interesting one. Michelle Obama just said over the weekend that the country is not ready for a woman president. Do you agree, disagree, and why?
Restart the call.
Sorry.
I think she was on mute, right?
Yeah.
She's thinking.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
sorry. It wouldn't let me. I'm sorry. Okay, you can hear me.
Did you get the question?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So I believe that we are ready for a woman president, right? This is not an extraordinary thing. There are many nations around the world that have elected smart and capable women. But I think that we need to look at the issues of seeing the humanity in others. Because if you view a woman as less than, then of course, then you will not believe that she is ready for this type of role. And we have so many instances of gender inequality, pay inequality that time and time again point to this type of mindset. And so when I think about the highest office in the land, I know, it's not that I think, I know that a woman can do it. It's unfortunate that we didn't see Kamala do it, but I know that glass ceiling will be broken one day.
Thanks, Yasmin. So the last question in this round goes to Sanjot Dunam. Sanjot, this is another interesting question. If you get elected in 2026, would you vote to impeach Trump, even if you know you don't have the 67 votes in the Senate to convict? Why or why not?
So let's just agree up front that we know that a great deal of Trump's act in version 1.0 in his first term in January 6th, and certainly in this term, are impeachable offenses. He routinely brushes aside the Constitution and is egregious. But we've sort of done that playbook, and it didn't work out so well for Democrats. Why? Because Trump is a master at using those kinds of tactics as being a victim and really making sure that his base rallies around him. So we need to really decide, do we want to be effective? And when I say effective, that means, do we want to win in 28? or do we want to just be right? And sometimes you can't do both. And I will tell you, I want to make sure that we're effective. I want to make sure whoever the candidate is in 28 on the Democratic ticket, up and down ballot, is winning. Because when Dems are in power, most people share our values, people are aligned with our policies, and we're able to take care of the vast number of Americans, and most people want to see democratic policies. So I would argue that we need to be focused on how do we win and how do we win big and bring back the people we lost.
Thanks, Sanjot. Okay, so now by the way, Debbie, I did get the question, so we're on a roll now. So
Thank you, sir.
So this next round of questions, the fourth round of questions, is not going to be on yet on the audience questions, but here this is what I call the rebuttal round. So here I'm going to start with Neil Coe, and it's the same question for all of you. You have the opportunity in this round to either rebut something that was said by another candidate. And again, at the end of the day, you're all trying to win a seat. And if you all say the same thing, then what's there to choose among you guys? So I want to see if some of you can come up with a counter argument to something that was said. Disagree without being disagreeable, but either counter something that someone else said, or take a question that was not asked of you and answer that question. So you're up, Neil. Are you ready?
Ready, yes.
Go ahead.
So you're asking about, you're going to ask a question, or should we take?
No, I'm asking you, the question is,
Okay.
I'll repeat the question again. So this is a rebuttal round, Neil. So the question is, take something that someone else said in a previous round, one of the other candidates, rebut that, or if you don't want to do that, take a question that was not asked of you and answer that question.
I would take the question of why don't we have a woman president and try to answer it a little more differently. We are, as a country, we are almost 250 years old, and we do not have a single woman president in this 2.5 centuries. We do not have a woman president. That says something about what is how women are looked upon by the country. I came from a country called India. We had our second prime minister called Indira Gandhi. I was raised by a single mother, and I with my wife, I ensured that she has all the freedom for her rights. So women's rights and rights for fair pay, equal pay, and fair positions should have been there long time ago. I don't think Michelle Obama should have said that we are not ready for a woman president. I think we were ready way, way before. It's just a matter of right leadership, a right planning should have been there. Kamala Harris could have been a first Afro-Indian woman president. We just did not have the right energy before Biden was put in. And then as a shoe-in, we moved Kamala Harris. I would say if Kamala Harris had the energy from day one, we would have had the woman president by now.
Thanks, Neil. So the same question for Kevin Morrison.
Thank you, Sid. And, I would preface, when it comes to our fundraising, everyone has access to our FEC reports. Junaid mentioned how, the dollars that candidates receive and corporate dollars and the like. And he has been one of the largest recipients of $3,500 contributions from corporate leaders in oil, gas, and the like from across the nation. I am proud that I am the candidate in this forum that has received the most small dollar individual contributions since launching my campaign on May 12th. I am running a people-powered movement. I am not depending on the ultra-wealthy to fund my candidacy. I'm not independently wealthy, and unlike several of my opponents, I'm not able to give myself a $500,000 loan. But we need voices who actually understand the working class, who come from the working class. I started off as I worked as a cashier at Walgreens and served pizzas all throughout college. And that is the type of voice the 8th is calling for.
Thanks, Kevin. So the same option is given to Dan Tully. So you can either take something someone else said, remember, someone else said, and counter that, or you can take a question that was addressed to one of the other candidates and answer that.
Thank you. I'm not going to frame this as a rebuttal. I'm going to frame this as a different approach to the question of, do fiscal budget deficits matter? And I'm going to say, yes, they absolutely do matter. Now, under this current framework that we have in the rules-based international order, the US dollar is the global reserve currency. However, there are currently efforts afoot by the PRC, People's Republic of China, and Russia and Iran to find an alternative global reserve currency. And so if there were to ever be one, whether that's a traditional currency or whether the PRC substitutes their own currency, the RMB, or whether they find a digital coin to provide a competitor to the dollar, that would upend global financial markets in detriment to the United States. And the budget deficits matter because they contribute to the national debt. If our national debt gets called, we're in a very difficult position financially. There goes all our credit. There goes our ability to trade with other countries. There goes our ability to actually pay our bills and to invest in people, as the other candidate said.
Thank you, Dan. So next up is Ryan Vedikat. So Ryan, again, you have the option of either countering something that someone said, or you can take a question like Dan did that was not addressed to you and answer that question.
Yeah, so I guess the one thing I would mention is democracy. We're all standing here toting on democracy and the rule of law. But one thing I would like to mention is that objections in regards to our candidate petitions, the petitions that we use to get onto the ballot, my petitions have been challenged by another candidate in this race. And so you need 865 signatures in order to get onto the ballot. I collected more than 2,300 signatures, good signatures and quality signatures, and more than enough to get on the ballot. But one of my competitors is suing me to try to kick me off the ballot because they're scared of me and they're scared of what I represent in this race. And so in regards to what Kevin's talking about funding, is that's a big part of it too. I'm run by small dollar donors. I put on a part of my own savings to help me run this race, and they're just trying to drown resources in this race. And so that you could search up who that person is that's objecting to me, and I want you to think about that in regards to democracy.
Thanks, Ryan. So next up is Junaid. So again, same thing to you, Junaid. You can either take a question that was addressed to someone else, or rebut something said by someone else.
Oh, absolutely. I just want to provide some clarification here, if anything. But my fundraising was brought. I think we're the only candidate who has raised that kind of money, 100% from grassroots, not self-funded. There are 5 candidates, I believe, who have self-funded in the ballpark of between 200,000 to 400,000. I have put in $0 of my own money. 100% of what we're doing here is from grassroots. If you look at fec.gov, everybody can go look it up, 100%. And I think that's something our team is very proud of. Not just that, just having a grassroots presence, having 2,000 volunteers sign up. That's a grassroots effort that we have. That just doesn't. It's not just about money. It's about the kind of grassroots support that you have, having the conversations with those voters at the doors. That's the campaign we're building. We are 100% grassroots funded, and something our campaign is very proud of.
Thanks, Junaid. So the same question offered to Yasmin Bankole. Either take a question that was asked of another one, or rebut something that's said by one of the other candidates.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Sid. So the question was asked, should we vote to impeach Trump? The answer should be hell yes. We cannot get anything done if we do not stop Trump. As the only person on the call that has worked on not one, but 2 of Trump's impeachments, I worked on the first one in 2019, second one in 2021. As your congresswoman, I would be a hell yes to work on the 3rd impeachment. Trump has got to go. When we look at affordability, we should also talk about raising the minimum wage. It has been $7.29 since 2009. We have to raise the minimum wage. I have no issue saying that I support universal basic income. One of the opponents had a word salad. I couldn't even understand what that response was. I don't have an issue saying that I support Medicare for all. There's some people on the call that say that they can't support it. And we should also bring up the fact that a former congresswoman has jumped into this race and she has openly stated that she is against same-sex marriage. So please look into the candidates, look into their FEC reports, look into their backgrounds, and I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so next up is Sanjot Dunam.
Thank you, Sid. And thank you, everyone. Yes, absolutely. You've got a lot of great perspectives, and we all bring a very different approach to how we actually get things done. And I think that's one of the things that I would lean into and talk about for a moment. For example, one of your questions was a little bit about diversity. And when we talk about diversity, we tend to focus on visible characteristics. I'm going to talk about invisible, which is how do we actually problem solve? How do people bring forth new ideas and new solutions? And many of you know that I'm a small business and I've had the ability to work in different cities and also different countries. There are best practices, and that's what makes me unique and very different, is that I bring in new ideas and new perspectives because I see what works. So for example, we talked a little bit about Medicare, and certainly I believe very strongly that we need to strengthen Medicare and Medicaid and make sure there is a universal option. But I'm also very aware that in Europe, places in Ireland, England, Sweden, France, people are now buying private insurance to supplement it. So their universal healthcare is not working as well as it once did. And we need to understand what hybrid model will work best for us in the US. So I'm all about new ideas and new solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I believe that concludes this round, or did I miss out on you, Neil? Did I ask you the same question, Neil?
Yes, you did. You started with me, but I'm more than happy to
start
ask
with
you
you.
a question.
Okay, so now the first question from the audience will go to Kevin Morrison, and the question is, I keep hearing about higher education. This is from Charity de Liberty. Says, I keep hearing about higher education. What about elementary education where it all starts? I spend most of my days testing and assessing students. Actual teaching is being shoved aside. The state report card was recently released. Do you know that the state has lowered the cutoff scores for students to be considered proficient or exceeding at their grade level? How is that going to help students in the future? So she's got a complaint against the way that the state report card is being prepared and what yardsticks are being used.
Well, thank you, Sid, and thank you so very much for this question. Actually, this is one of the things I'm most excited about in running for Congress. As a county commissioner, I have very little impact on our public schools, but I have made it a point to show up at school board meetings every chance I can. Our Supreme Court has actually ruled that under our Constitution that there is no right to a public education, but through government action, we've created a right to a basic public education. I'm a product of District 54 and 211 schools. I grew up in this district in Elk Grove Village, and they called the schools I went to the trifecta, the best 54 and 211 schools in both of those districts. I think that we need to see federal legislation that guarantees more dollars nationally so that every person who resides in America has access to high quality public education.
Thanks. Okay, the next question goes to Dan Tully. And this question is by Garrick Walk. Garrick asks, when elected to your office, what will you do to rein in the ridiculous budgets of both ICE and our Department of Defense?
Absolutely. So ICE's budget currently has ballooned to, if ICE were a military, it would be the 6th best funded military in the entire world. And obviously that's not something that we want here in this country. We need to be able to strip ICE down to the studs and get rid of the MAGA-inspired hate and cruelty that's been driving Operation Midway Blitz and now the operations out of Charlotte, and focus on, one, accountability for those who participated in the illegal activity and the abuses. I proposed using the impeachment power of Congress to go after those folks, to go after the people that did that under the constitutional language of all civil officers are subject to impeachment. But in addition to impeachment, we need to narrowly focus the budget on things that actually need to happen. So, for instance, in the military, we are subject and beholden prisoner even of the military-industrial complex. It was mentioned by Ike, but it's more true now than ever. We used to have over 50 different defense contractors. Now it's dwindled down to 5. We need to make sure to diversify those contractors to make sure that no single actor has that much influence.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Dan. So next question goes to Ryan Vedicat. This question comes from Michelle Armamentos. Michelle asks, there was a $50 million effort in Illinois to change the tax code in Illinois from a flat tax, which it is now, like 4.9%, 99%, to a tiered tax, sort of a progressive tax. Do you think that an effort should be made at the federal level to get the wealthy and corporations to pay their fair share? And how will you go about doing this? The system is such that the rich are able to shield their taxes, shield their income from taxes, and pay at a very much lower tax rate. And how can we make the federal tax system more fair?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest issues is this concept of wealth and the way it's taxed and the way that the wealthy use their wealth in order to perpetuate this cycle. So let's take the case of Elon Musk buying Twitter. Elon Musk is worth X billions of dollars. And so most of that wealth is tied up in stocks in Tesla and SpaceX. And so this wealth isn't necessarily liquid in that sense. He's worth that much, but he isn't. But when he chose to buy Twitter, he said, "Hey, I want to take a loan, and my collateral is these billions of dollars of stocks." And so he used that loan in order to purchase Twitter. And so this is a situation where he's able to buy things and use money, but not get taxed on it. And so the big thing I support is getting taxes on these loans that billionaires use. In order to purchase things, because if they're not going to get taxed on their stocks, they shouldn't be able to use loans to evade taxes.
Okay, thanks. Next question goes to Junaid. And this question is from Doreen Christiani. She says, she asks, what do you think of the president's strategy of these legal delay tactics? Would you consider that a tool that we may use to fight fire with fire in the future? Legal delay tactics.
You know, when it comes to Donald Trump, how many issues can you point out that we gotta play fire with fire? I think we've got to impeach this president. We've got to make sure that not just this president, right? One more additional thing that I think we should do as Congress is the madness that this one president is able to do. How can we put a permanent pause, permanent stop to it? Can we pass legislation? There needs to be legislation that limits presidential powers for executive orders. Those basic things that we constantly need to do to stop this mad president and future presidents coming in. Because one thing is to play fire with fire, but I think the job of the Congress is we don't have this issue 10 years from now, 30 years from now. One madman is enough for the century, I think.
Okay, thank you. So the next question goes to because Junaid, I just asked Junaid, right?
You can ask me again.
No. Next is Yasmin Yohankole. Good try, Junaid. Okay, so this is Bob Caplow who asked this question. What is your response to Dick Durbin voting with the GOP to pass the continuing CR, but the fact that it has failed to protect the Obamacare subsidies and other things that they could have got done. What is your response? And do you agree with Dick Durbin's approach, or would you have done something differently if you were Dick Durbin?
So as someone that has worked through 2 government shutdowns, I knew how hard the government shutdown was. But I also knew that what we got out of that vote was a bad deal. And so I have deep respect for the senator. I'm so proud that he has endorsed my candidacy for this race, but I didn't agree with this vote. I think that we held out for 40 days and 40 nights and got virtually nothing in response. We got a lot of promises, and we just know that these are those on the other side of the aisle. We cannot trust them. And so it is yet to be determined to see if the vote will take place. I hope it does. But it has just been, it was incredibly frustrating to watch the 8 Democrats, the Senate Democrats, move forward with that vote. I'd also say that I would have asked for more. I would have asked for healthcare. I would have also asked for immigration reform. ICE is terrorizing our communities. So we must pick a plan. We must stick to it. We must have vision and a coordinated strategy in this Trump administration.
Thanks, Yasmin.
Thank you.
So next question goes to Sanjot Dunong. And here is the question for you, Sanjot. Whether or not you agree with his views, President Trump will be around until January 2029. From January 2027 to January 2029, what is your plan to pass meaningful legislation that becomes law? And can you pass, is there a way of passing laws when you got a president that can veto these laws?
Yes, I think you can. So I do have experience in DC passing and working on legislation. We already know that there have been some now divisions coming up in the Republican Party. We saw this with the Epstein file, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna being able to have a bipartisan bill. So what I would be doing from day one, and probably even before, hopefully if I'm fortunate enough to win the confidence of everybody, is to start building those bridges. How can we actually create meaningful progress on opportunity? I am an educator. I have a lifelong learning business, and I believe we can make strategic investments in education, vocational training, lifelong learning, but also preparing young people to have opportunities, especially since they're being displaced by AI. We have a 12% job loss for fresh graduates. They're not getting jobs. So I have a plan for that, about how we can actually give them an opportunity to get jobs training. So I would be looking for people who could be bipartisan, whether they're Democrats from across the spectrum or Republicans, to build legislative progress to check this presidency. And I think that we can do that.
Okay. The next question goes to Neil Cote. And Neil, here is your question from Jesse Rojo. Jesse Rojo asks, what policies would you propose in the area of campaign finance reform?
I believe that the campaign finance is out of control. We need to bring sensible limits to campaign finance so that right leaders and the right perspectives are put in place, right incentives are there. But today, if you see, most of the Congress is funded by all the major corporations. But more than that, what currently concerns me is, my concern is for the seniors in my district. The subsidies and the Affordable Care Act subsidies that are gone, Medicare and Medicaid, that is on the chopping block because of the big ugly bill that was passed. Those are my first concerns. My second concerns are the choices for women and their rights, and their equal and fair pay, and the choice to their reproductive rights are their rights. Creating more jobs, because we've lost Sears, Motorola, as well as Ameritech. These are what created jobs in our district, and we need to bring them back. And I have a experience of creating global companies and I want to make sure that I can share that with my constituents. Thank you.
Thanks. This question is for Bill. Bill, we're at 8:15 now. Do you want to do another round of audience questions and then go to closing comments? Or do you want to go to closing comments right away?
I would say go to the candidates' closing comments.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do with the closing comments. We're going to start in reverse order of alphabetical order. So you have a minute, Ryan, to make your closing pitch to why voters in this district should vote for you.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Sid, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here on this forum. And so I just want to highlight something Sid mentioned earlier today, and it's we all have similar policies, and so you should rebut each other because what else is there to choose from if you're all the same person? And so I really want you to think about that during this election, during these next 4 months. We're officially 4 months from Election Day, and so we have 8 candidates in this race. But I want you to think about everyone's experience and what they represent and the path forward for our country and for our youth and for our nation as a whole. And so I'm running on not endorsements or money. I'm running on you and the community that raised me. And so I'm 24 years old. I'm the youngest person in this race, the youngest ever to run across this country currently in the 2026 cycle. And I'm running on the fact that we don't just need younger voices in Congress, but we need better voices in Congress. And so I really urge you to look at all of our records, look at what we've done, and make an informed decision. I hope to earn your vote in March.
Thanks, Ryan. Next up is Dan Tully for your 1 minute closing.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. I'll echo Ryan. There's not much daylight between positions of these candidates. I think everybody in this race has good intentions, and I think everybody's a good person here. What I would invite you to do is take a look at our experience, and I would argue that every part of the things that we talked about Trump doing, whether it's healthcare, it's taxes, it's education, Trump is either weaponizing the law or acting outside of the law with impunity, with no consequences, with no accountability. So I would argue knowledge of the law, and not only knowledge of the law, but experience practicing law matters. I stand before you today as the only person in the race with experience practicing law, and also the only person with military experience, which I think is incredibly relevant, especially as we see Trump having a carrier strike group off the coast of Venezuela and receiving briefings about options to bomb. Please check out dantully.com. It's my website with my issues page, a video, and also I try to post daily on social media, highlighting not only the illegal things Trump is doing, but what we can do in Congress to stop him.
Thanks, Dan. Next up is Kevin Morrison for your 1 minute closing.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you for organizing this, and thank you to everyone for joining tonight. I'm Kevin Morrison. In 2018, I made history. I ran for the Cook County Board of Commissioners against the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party and won, flipping the district blue and becoming the youngest and first openly LGBTQ commissioner in history. As a commissioner, I've created a nationally recognized one-stop shop to help small business owners start and grow their businesses. I created the county's first ever Department of Mental and Behavioral Health and strengthened reproductive rights. And I've stood up to Donald Trump at every turn. I'm running for Congress because what they're doing isn't working. We live in an economy where my generation feels like the American dream is out of reach. Donald Trump's ripping the Constitution to shreds, and our current members of Congress are simply not fighting for people like you and me. We need a new generation of leadership in Congress, not a rerun of the failed tactics of the past. In Congress, I'll tackle the affordability crisis. I'll always fight for Main Street, not Wall Street and billionaires, and I'll always take on Donald Trump. I hope to earn your support, and I hope you'll join me at kevinmorrisonforcongress.com.
Thanks, Kevin. Next up is Neil Coate. You're on mute, Neil.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you for letting me know. As you know, my name is Neil, stands for New Illinois. We need new leadership in the Democratic Party as well as in Congress. What we have seen in our district is the failed policies of career politicians. And we want to make sure that the new leader has intention. The leadership the characteristics to care for its constituents. That's what is missing. We do not have leaders that care for the constituents. We want to ensure that our seniors and their earned benefits are kept intact. They cannot be thrown on the chopping block, cannot be given to the billionaires. The current bill that has been passed by the billionaires for the billionaires should be immediately stopped. Women's rights are still important. As I said, even after 250 years, we do not have a president that is a woman. That is concerning to me, and I'll stand up for that. Of course, we also need to create jobs. We've lost Motorola, Ameritech, and Sears. They have gone. I can create global companies, bring those jobs back, because with the right pocketbook, everybody flourishes, and I want to see our district flourish equally. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Neil. Next up is Sanjot Dunam.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for staying and listening and providing your questions, and certainly this great discussion. And I want to continue sort of just highlighting what I've said. One of the most important things we need to recognize is this president continues to wield uncertainty and chaos. And we can't keep relying on a playbook that's outdated by 2, 4, 10 years. When we get into power again, and hopefully with your confidence and trust, I will be your representative, we need a new way of doing things. And as a social scientist, as a military mom, as somebody who has taken care of my aging and disabled parents here in Des Plaines, I understand what our families are going through. And I know that I'm talking to people every day, and they are telling me we need a bold two-pronged strategy: defend democracy and provide a vision forward. We need to improve affordability, provide opportunity. We need to make sure everybody has the resources and ability to be able to live and age with dignity, and also to make sure that we have pro-legal immigration reform, faster pathways for visas, green cards, and citizenship. We can do it.
Thanks, Sanjot.
Thank you.
So next up is Yasmin Bankole for 60 seconds as a closing.
Thank you, Sid. Again, my name is Yasmin Bankole, and I'm running for Congress to be a part of a new generation of leaders in Washington, D.C., but I'm also running on a proven track record of getting things done. And so I've spent close to 8 years as a congressional staffer. I'm the only person on this call that has that experience. I've worked on the Social Security Fairness Act, which increased monthly benefits for public service employees. I also serve as a trustee in the Village of Hanover Park. I was elected at the age of 27. I'm 32 now, and I've actually helped and worked to lower costs. We are at a moment where we cannot just elect a Democrat. They must be the right Democrat. And I just think that it's very clear from some of the responses that we received tonight that not everyone on this call is a fighter. You must have the fire in your belly to meet this moment. You have to, otherwise we will not survive. And so year after year, I have stayed rooted in this community, and I've decided to bloom where I have been planted. And so I know I have the drive and the experience, but the energy to meet this role and serve effectively in the 8th Congressional District.
Thanks, Yasmin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yasmin. Last up is Junaid Ahmed. 60 seconds for your closing.
Thank you. I've spoken to hundreds of people in every corner of our district, and it is clear they want a progressive fighter in Washington. I will be that fighter to bring costs down, expand healthcare, fund our schools, K through 12, free community college, and stand up to this president. We are a grassroots funded campaign. We have raised $850,000 already. That is the power of our grassroots campaign, 100%. I'm not taking a dime of corporate PAC money or APAC money in this campaign. I'm so proud to be endorsed by vice chairs of Congressional Progressive Caucus, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez and Congressman Ro Khanna. Together, we are building a people-powered campaign here, grassroots campaign, and I hope to earn your support. I have been organizing on the streets of Schaumburg and the streets of Alchin as a citizen. Now we will take those organizing skills to the halls of Congress to fight for you. Let's do it together.
Thanks, Junaid. Okay, that brings to an end the formal part of this forum. And I'd like to do the vote of thanks. I'd like to thank all the candidates the 7 candidates who came in and took time out of their busy schedules to be part of this forum. I think when you look at these 7 candidates, I see 7 candidates. I hope we had 7 positions to put these 7 candidates. But unfortunately, we have to pick one of them. And each one of them is much better than likely the GOP is going to put up against them. So I'd like to thank the candidates. I'd like to thank the audience for sitting through 1.5 hours, very patiently sitting through without able to ask questions, but not able to speak. And I'd like to thank our team. In order to put this, there is a team that goes to make this happen. There is Chris Kios, who put up the bios. There's Debbie Rudy, who gathered the questions. There is Lonnie, who did some of the key work. There is Ed Spire. And I may have forgotten some names, and then obviously the person that we need to thank the most is Bill Davis. Without Bill Davis, nothing happens in NWSOFA, and we need to thank Bill Davis as well. So, Bill Davis, it's all yours.
Wow. I was going to lead off with the fact that the only disappointment in this is that we couldn't have 8 or 7 different positions for all these candidates, because they're all wonderful. So I wrote some things down that, from my perspective, is really important. I love the youth. I love the energy. I love the competence. And I love the intelligence that you all displayed in grabbing a question that you didn't know where it was coming from and having to answer in 1 minute and staying within that 1 minute. That is not easy. You guys did it. You did it in spades. You knocked it out of the park. All those great sayings like that. I think we're in great shape when we see this core of potential candidates, because only one's going to be there that's going to run and win. But I have great, good feelings about it because you're all so good. The Democrats are an interesting group. I used to be a Republican, so I can talk with some expression on this. This is a really big tent. So many different people, so many different aspects, so many different main priorities. Back when I was a business Republican, there was only one thing I cared about, and that was, getting laws that favored businesses. This is a big tent, and the questions came from many different angles because we have to cover this tent. And whoever wins is going to be in the halls of Congress. That's important. That's huge. So I just want to express a huge thank you to not only our organization, NWSOFA, which stands for Northwest Suburbs Organization for Action Indivisible, but Greater Palatine Area Democrats, the Elk Grove Democrats, the Elk Grove Township Indivisible team, the Hike from Elgin Indivisible team, the Dundee Democrats, the Kane County Dems, and Indivisible Illinois. And I saw leadership going down the list today from almost every one of these groups, which shows great commitment. And getting, I think we had about 130 people attend. We had a high water mark of about 115, which is great on a Monday night. Why do you show up? Because this is important. This is really important. My last comment here is in 2025, we saw the beginning of the No Kings. No Kings from Indivisible, from Move On, from 5051, from all Democratic groups, etc. And we had, the first time we did it, I think was in March or April, we had like 4 million people, maybe 5, show up across the country. Recently, We had No Kings 2. 7 to 10 million people showed up. The energy was palpable. The fun, the people dressed up in costumes, etc. There was fun. The energy that we have right now, I've never seen it like this. The energy that you, the youth, bring, the confidence and the intelligence that you bring meshes perfectly with this time, this moment in our life. So that No Kings 1, that No Kings 2 led directly to over 2,000 elections across the United States just a couple of weeks ago. Do you know we won in almost 98% of those elections? All top tier elections we won in. And we didn't win by 2 points or 3 points. When people say, oh yeah, you should have won that one because it's a blue state or purple state. We won by 10, 12, 14 points. Amazing. So this energy, No Kings 1, No Kings 2 to the elections, and then to the shutdown. And I don't think anybody here was happy with the shutdown. But what we did over 7 weeks, Schumer, Congress was able to move the discussion on health care and insurance for people across the country from this kind of general area to onto the backs of the GOP. And it's theirs now to struggle under. And they are struggling mightily. So I think that this, if there's anything positive out of it, that's the big thing. And they got to come up with a plan now. And the Dems are going to hold their feet to the fire. So the energy that we have now, the energy that drove us through 7 weeks of shutdown, the longest ever. And by the way, we're looking at January for another shutdown if they don't come to the table. That's important. That's huge. Now we just have to carry it through for a year to the off-year elections where we take back both the House and the Senate. And we'll do it because you all were here, you all were interested as attendees. You candidates are phenomenal. Thank you. I'm glad to call you all friends. I've met you all. And I think that is really great. So with that, let's have a great night. I almost want to say go Bears, but I don't want to bring up football in the middle of this, so I won't. So anyway, have a great one. And to everybody that helped behind the scenes, there were like 8 of us running the clock, getting the questions out, bringing everything together. It was an amazing group, well planned. Thank you, Sid, for organizing this all. Thank you, everybody that did your part, because it came together seamless, at least from my perspective, seamless. So I hope the candidates enjoyed it as much. You guys are great.
Bill, I'll say it. Go Bears.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sid.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very
Thanks.
much, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy,
Thank you,
happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving and happy holidays next week.
Oh,
Happy
absolutely.
Thanksgiving. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, bye.
I'm glad I didn't have the timer. Have a great night, everyone.
Great night.
All right.
Yeah.
Good night.
Night.
Thanks so much, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everyone.